If you look online, there's a lot of influencers and gurus who are proponents of something called monk mode. Monk mode is a period of isolation and extreme focus where you cut off all distractions for weeks or maybe months at a time in order to focus on your goal. And while I do think monk mode has its merits, we will go into it, I think there's a better way to accomplish this. Does not wreak havoc on your life, because there's a downside to monk mode as well. There are disadvantages to monk mode, and I want to cover those in this video and show you a better version of monk mode, my version of it that has worked for me, and I think it will work for you too. And again, I'm not talking shit about anybody who's been a proponent of the monk mode on YouTube or any other social media. I know Iman Ghazi did it and he made a bunch of money, very successful, man. That's a hard working brother. Alex Becker, he talked about monk mode a lot and, you know, seemed to have worked out pretty well for him. I want to just give you my version of it as well. All right. Now, first, let's talk about the traditional monk mode. Traditional monk mode is a extended period of extreme focus, cutting off all distractions. There's different versions of it. People explain it in different ways, but a lot of times it includes the following: no social media, no video games, no Netflix, no FAP, no porn, no TV, no sports, no parties, no junk food. I've even heard people say no music, no family gatherings, no friends, and no sex. Different versions of it. Hey, listen, if you're thinking about going to monk mode, you probably don't have friends or anyone to have sex with anyway, so we don't have to worry about those last two. Some people's versions of monk mode is not as extreme, but you get the fucking point, asshole. It's basically you're just cutting off different parts of your life, different aspects of your experience in order to singularly focus on accomplishing your goals. Basically, it's a prolonged period of time where all you do is work on your goals, work out, sleep, eat, and bathe. Monk mode definitely has its merit, especially this prolonged version. I was actually forced into monk mode in 2007. That's when my father committed suicide, blew his brains out, and I was stuck in a position where I had to take care of my whole family. I had to take care of my mom, my grandma, help my sister and her son, and I was 24 years old, and all of a sudden I was the man of the house, the man of the family, and we were in some trouble. He didn't leave us anything. In fact, he left us a bunch of problems, a bunch of tax bills, a bunch of issues, you know, mortgage that my mom had to figure out. It was just, I was thrust in a position where I had to dig my family out of this hole. So felt like I had two choices. One, I could just cry like a bitch. I mean, I did cry, but I could just cry and let these circumstances overtake me, or I could be a G and start working real hard. And I chose the latter. What did that look like for me? Well, there was no social media at the time. So like, yeah, I wasn't on MySpace. I wasn't on MySpace or the Facebook. I think that's what it was called back then. So that social media wasn't a big deal, but I didn't watch much TV at all. I didn't play any video games. I didn't watch any movies. I didn't go to any basketball games. I didn't go to any parties. I didn't go to any barbecues. You know, missing out on barbecues and basketball games was a big deal because I'm black and, you know, that's what we do. I had to refrain from those activities. And what I did do was I started waking up at 4 o'clock every day. I would take the train from Queens to Harlem, and I would train people at the gym in Queens on 145th. And then I would shower at the gym, take the train from Harlem down to Soho, work at the Prada store as a security guard for about 8 hours. Work as a security guard. That may be an embellishment of what really happened. I was hired to work as a security guard, but I didn't guard anyone. I didn't guard anything, and I didn't keep anyone secure. But I was there. I was there for 8 hours a day standing. And then after that, I worked for my boy's moving company, which is, anybody who's ever worked for a moving company, you know, that's back-breaking labor. And it's more difficult in New York because not every building has an elevator in New York. Yeah. Imagine taking sofas and sofa beds and furniture up a 6-story walk-up. And that's what I would do after work. And then I go home, go to sleep, and wake up and do it again. I did that 5 days a week. And on the weekends, I woke up early, trained people. Then I was the weekend manager at a barbecue restaurant in Queens, in Astoria, Queens. And these were like 12, 14-hour work days, 7 days a week for about 2 years. So it was kind of a monk mode without really realizing it. And because I remember working on New Year's Day, working on holidays, working on New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. You know, I was really going for it. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't really fucking around because I was forced into that position, right? I had to take care of my family and myself, right? Dig my family out of this hole. Being in that monk mode state, I was able to make 6 figures both of those years. Just hard work. And another reason why that's so impressive is because it was during, you know, the recession. It was during the last recession in 07, 08, 09. We had the worst recession since the Great Depression. So there was record unemployment. The economy was all fucked up. Lehman Brothers crash, Bear Stearns, you know, General Motors was about to go out of business. There were literally people with master's degrees working at Starbucks because we had record unemployment. Like, we hadn't had unemployment that high since the Depression. It was a seriously bad time in the world, but I outworked it with this monk mode strategy. However, so that was one of the benefits, right? I was able to make 6 figures both years, and I was able to start my online fitness business, right? Because I had some extra income. So I was able to start my online fitness business, which eventually grew to a multi 7-figure business, you know, down the line. So those are the benefits, but there were some problems with that kind of monk mode. For one, it's just not sustainable. It's just not sustainable. I'm the only one I know who's ever done anything like that for 2 years straight, because I was forced to, like, just the position my family was in and the position of the world economy. You know, most of the people talking about monk mode, they just haven't been alive long enough to have ran a business or even worked during a recession. Y'all haven't had that experience yet. Don't worry, you will. It's coming. And but I had to do it, but it's not sustainable, and it was emotionally draining. It was definitely super lonely. I don't like, if I didn't have cat, I might have went crazy. If y'all watch some of my old YouTube videos, you know I had a black cat, George, Meow Mix Poppy on Instagram, and he was like my only companion during these times, you know, because a cat you can leave home all day, and you know it can stay alive on its own. A dog will die. And I think it did some psychological damage to me, honestly. But here's the other thing. It worked, right? I was able to get a certain level of success. It made me never want to do anything like that again. And because I never want to do it again, I was stuck at under $1 million for like the next 8 years, because I never wanted to go that hard again after it. And maybe it's because I did it for 2 years and most people don't recommend doing that. What happened was, eventually I read a book called Deep Work by Cal Newport. I read this book, and what Cal talked about is having like deep work sessions where you work deeply. And when I think about it, that's kind of like mini monk modes throughout the day. Basically what Cal recommended was you carve out certain times of the day where you adhere to those monk mode protocol, but it's not all day. It's a few hours per day, and then you go back to regular life. So you go into these monk mode, cut off all the stuff, all the social media, all the distractions, 4 hours a day. Let's say, for example, 4 hours a day. All right, no social media, no text messages, no video games. Don't jag off. I know it's gonna be hard for some of you guys to stop jagging off for 4 hours, but just bear with me. You know, maybe that's not realistic for you, but just humor me for a moment, right? And then you work super hard during those times, and then you can go back to whatever you were doing, right? Then you can go back into the real world in regular life. What happened was I started to make more money. That's when I first went over the $1 million per year mark, you know? And that was like in 2016, right? And here's why I like it better. One, it's sustainable. And I'm gonna talk about how to do that later in this video, what the protocol looks like. Here's why I like what I call mini monk modes. One, is more sustainable. I've been doing a version of this every day for about 7 years, and my income has grown drastically each year. Monk mode, the way everyone else describes it, is not sustainable. They want you to do it all day, every day, for weeks or for months. And I'm not saying it can't work, but it's actually hard to work all day, every day, and do real productive work. For example, here's a study that shows that working long hours predicted a decline in performance. I'm not gonna read this shit for you because I'm not a fucking dork, but you can fucking take a screenshot and read this shit on your own time, right? You know, but it talks about how long hours, there's a decrease in performance. So if this line represents performance, P, and this line represents time, the longer you work, the more that it will degrade. And I feel like this makes a lot of sense. And then like at the end of it, you're probably just doing busy work towards the end. And this study goes into greater detail on why that happens. However, I want to show you a video from Kobe Bryant about how he trained. Now, we all know Kobe Bryant is world renowned for his work ethic, but Kobe didn't even work all day, every day. Let me show you something. Kobe, he's pretty successful. What, he got an Oscar, a few championship rings, I think 5, few MVPs, few gold medals. Let me show you what Kobe was talking about.
If you get up at 10 in the morning, train at 12, train for 2 hours, 12 to 2, you have to let your body recover. So you eat, recover, whatever. You start training again at 6. Train from 6 to 8, and now you go home, you shower, you eat dinner, you go to bed, you wake up, you do it again, right? Those are two.
He was talking about what a regular motherfucker does, but here's what Kobe talks about what his training would look like. You know, this is before he retired, right here.
2 sessions. Right now, imagine you wake up at 3, you train at 4, you go 4 to 6, come home, breakfast, relax, blah, blah, blah. Now you're back at it again, 9 to 11.
Okay, wait a minute. 4 to 6, then 9 to 11. There's a 3-hour break in there, right? You get what I'm saying? There was a 3-hour break. And Kobe, he said, now he's doing physically demanding stuff. So, but he said, your body needs to rest. You need to rest. You need to recover. Then he 3-hour break. Then he went back at it.
Right, relax, and now all of a sudden you're back at it again, 2 to 4.
Another break, right? Another break, another 3-hour break, 9 to 11, then 2 to 4.
And now you're back at it again, you know, 7 to 9.
Another 3-hour break because he gets back at it again at 7, right? So he wasn't playing basketball all fucking day. Right, he's talking about how he broke the sessions up. In a minute, we're going to go into how I structure my mini modes. But if we look at let me bring up my calendar. So this is like when my calendar is, I call it deep work, right? But I'm gonna change it to mini monk modes because I just invented that shit and I want to start saying it, you know. But before I was calling it deep work because it's based off Kyle's book. But you see, it's like, oh, I have these deep work sections. Then I do other shit. Boom. Then I go into another deep work section, right? So it's like I'm going in and out of monk mode. Does that make sense? You know, I got my whole day planned in my calendar. I got everything planned. Fucking what time I'm gonna go to sleep, when I'm gonna wake up. But I have these mini deep works in here. Sometimes they're longer, but it's similar to Kobe's structure. So when you're doing it like Kobe, it's like, oh, you get this beginning part, boom, then you rest, then you get this beginning part again, right? And now you have just the most productive parts of it, and you're just doing that a few times a day. Excuse my fucking shitty graph. Right, but you're getting that, and in the meantime, your brain can rest and recover. Now, remember that study I showed you. If you fucking work long hours in a row consecutively over time, your cognitive ability will start to decline. So for me, I don't think it's necessary to do a 24-hour monk mode for weeks or months at a time because you're not getting quality work done the longer you stress out the duration of work. So when I started doing this, I started making more money. I started being more productive, and I'm able to live a regular life. Because another problem with monk mode is depressing. It's depressing. Like that isolation can be depressing. Like, check this out. Here's a study that shows that isolation leads to depression, right? So you're isolating yourself for months at a time. You're going to start to get sad and lonely because human beings are not made to be like that. We're not designed that way. You get what I'm saying? In fact, that's how we punish the worst among us. We got criminals, we put them in jail. The worst criminals, where they go? Solitary confinement, the hole. That's how you punish somebody. You isolate them from everyone else. And to do a self-imposed version of that is going to be super detrimental to your well-being. Mental health and physical health are interacted. Social isolation's adverse health consequences range from sleeplessness to reduced immune function. Loneliness is associated with higher anxiety, depression, and suicide rates. This is real shit. I believe that if you do a prolonged monk mode and you're really isolating yourself from the world, I believe you're putting your physical and mental health at risk. I know that because that's what I experienced. Now, I'm not saying it didn't work, and maybe I did it too long because there was no protocols. There was no fucking YouTube back when I was doing this shit, you know, or YouTube had like just started. It was in its infancy, so nobody's making videos on monk mode. I was trying to figure this shit out, and I was just doing what I had to do to save myself and my family. However, I did experience like negative side effects from this shit, you know, like mental negative side effects. But with the mini monk modes, right, you just carve out a few hours per day, you can actually really, you know, accomplish a lot. So I'm going to give you guys my mini monk mode protocol, and it's 5 steps. 5 simple steps. Number 1, plan in your cal. Okay, Google Calendar is the best way to do it. Now, I plan everything in my calendar, and I have a video about how to do this. I'm just way more productive as a result. But yeah, monk mode, right? You know what I'm saying? And because I was calling it deep work or monk mode, whatever it is, right? And I have this shit in here, right? And this is when I put the fucking phone away. I put social media away, and I just focus on my goals for this amount of time. Hey, then I can get back to some other shit. Now, it's better if you plan your whole life in this motherfucker, right? I have what time I'm gonna go to sleep. I try to plan out every hour of every day, you know? All right, so that's one, but also plan your fun. I plan my fun. So if, you know, me and my boys may look at the NBA basketball season, when the Heat play, and we saw, hey, what games do we want to go to this year? And we put that in the calendar and we plan it. You know what I'm saying? We plan the fun, right? Or I know how much time I'm gonna spend with my son because I plan it. My nieces and nephews, I want to spend more time with them, and so I plan it. Or I plan times with the homies, right? I hit them up, hey man, we all ballers and we all like kind of do this shit. You know, I was texting my boy Jeremy, and I was like, yo man, we should fucking go do this thing. And we like, oh yeah, let's do it. He sends me a calendar invite. You know what I'm saying? That's just how we roll. Jeremy makes multi-millions, success leaves clues, man. And then plan your fun, plan your recreation. Here's the thing about planning your recreation. It puts limitations on it, right? Because if you're just gonna play video games or you're just gonna have fun as much as you want and there's no limitations on it, then there's no limitations on it. And you might do it way too much, way more than necessary. You may do too much socializing. You may do too much watching TV or whatever the fuck it is you do for fun. If you can actually like nail it down, plan the time with your girlfriend, plan the time with your spouse, then you put like restrictions on it so you can't do it too much, for one. And also it makes the sacrifice easier. For example, it's like cheat day. When I first started working out, I would have a cheat day. And it was difficult for me to adhere to my diet, but I knew at the end of the week, Sunday, I was gonna get that cheat day and I can eat whatever I want. So knowing the cheat day was coming made it easier to adhere to my dietary protocols. And I hope that makes sense. So when you start planning your fun, it's in your calendar, it gives you something to look forward to. When you're in the grind, it actually makes it less stressful and less of a daunting task because you know that some fun is around the corner, you know? I hope that makes sense. Number three, you want to set the rule. So I can't tell you what your rules are going to be, but for me, when I'm in that mode, it's no phone. Phone's probably in the other room or it's like away from me. All my other devices are on do not disturb, and I'm locked in on my task. And the only thing I'll stop doing the task for is to like urinate, you know, or maybe I'll get up and get some water or something. But usually I have the water like ready for me, right? Even like right now, man, I got my waters right here, man. I got still and sparkling. I'm ready for anything, you know. Yeah, I got still for regular hydration, but if I want to get crazy, if I want to get fancy, I got the other. I usually have everything set up. Set the rules and then set up your environment for the actual work. So get everything ready. Have your fucking water, have your drinks if you need to take a pre-workout before. Fucking you pop Addy or modafinil, whatever you got to do. You know what I'm saying? Have the shit set up. Urinate so you can not be distracted and you can just, super hard during that time without interruption. Number 5 is the session should be at least 90 minutes. And I think you should do it every day. So that way you get some deep work in every day. Like the mini monk mode should be every day. Now, the reason it's 90 minutes, because when I talked to Cal Newport, Cal said the session needs to be at least 90 minutes because it takes your brain a little bit of time to acclimate to a new task for you to get into flow. And 90 minutes is the minimum. But the maximum is 4 hours. The maximum is 4 hours without a break. And the reason being is because of the studies I showed you earlier, cognitive ability starts to decline at around the 4 hour mark. And there's a lot of other studies I can reference to let you know that. But around the 4 hour mark, your brain's gonna need a rest. And why does your brain need a rest? Because your brain uses a tremendous amount of energy. Your brain on average is about 5% of your body mass. At rest, your brain uses 20% of your body's energy. So imagine if you're thinking real hard. So there's studies that show that like chess players, they burn tremendous amount of calories just playing chess. They're just sitting down thinking, because thinking uses up a lot of energy. You ever been working real hard on something and you're just at your desk and then you're tired after? That's because your brain is using up energy. You work for 4 hours, give yourself a break, let your brain recover, let your body recover. All right, just like Kobe said, then you hop back into it. And if you can do that, you can sustain that indefinitely. My fear is for some of you guys, if you do these sessions of prolonged monk mode, you're gonna go into a boom and bust cycle. And I've seen this with a lot of entrepreneurs. They work super hard and they have some success, then they stop doing what got them to be successful, then they start to gradually fall off. And then when their fucking money runs low, it's like, uh-oh, monk mode, and it's this boom and bust cycle. I don't think it's healthy, and it's not. And I'm not saying it doesn't have its merits, and I'm not saying it won't work for some people, and I'm not saying it wouldn't work for you. But imagine if you can get a lot of work done every day for years in a row. Then you're me, man. Then you're me. You know what I'm saying? There are a few 8-figure businesses, Richard Mills, diamonds, big titty, Spanish girlfriend, man, penthouse in Miami. That's what I did. In order to do that, the very first step, remember, you have to put it in your calendar. And I have a video all about how to use Google Calendar to really get your time management order. And I think in that video, there's a bunch of other productivity hacks and tools that I use to become super successful and make a ton of money at the same time. You want to check out that video right now.